this session is about the faculty evaluation process for reviewers. And it looks like most of the people here are serving in roles on the faculty evaluation committee. I think I may see one person who's serving in the role of the department chair. Is that accurate? Okay. So that's fine. It makes sense that you all should be here because it is FEC time. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the different roles of the reviewers in the faculty evaluation process. But then my colleague Tom McClintock is going to give you some information about what you're probably really here for, which is using Submittable for your reviews. Without further ado, I will share my screen. All right, so as many of you know, there's a lot of people that have roles in reviewing faculty documents during the faculty evaluation process. The first set of reviewers is the Student Evaluation Committee, and as you all know, that's a very specific set of people with a very specific role insofar as they review course evaluations and collect additional information to assess and make recommendations or an evaluation of a faculty member's teaching and advising. That process has sort of opened and closed for this year, so I'll just move on. The Faculty Evaluation Committee. So what's on the slides here is like straight out of the CBA. And I do encourage you, like in the next slide, it'll have the CBA section where this is all found. But I guess the main point that I want to make here is that there are sort of like rules around the composition of FECs. What's in the CBA is here, right? That it's elected annually and must include at least 3 tenured or tenurable faculty, 1 student observer, and that there's a chair. But the bottom line is, I think, unit standards lay out what needs to happen for every FEC, for every academic unit. And so I'm pretty sure you're probably very aware of this. And if you're not, then check your unit standards. The job of the FEC is to apply the unit standards and nothing else to review the performance of their peers. And the document, obviously, that you're applying the unit standards to is the IPR, which your faculty should have submitted by now. After the review, there is discussion, and then there is a written evaluation of every faculty member based on the unit standards. And so the FEC can also solicit additional evidence and information to use in making its evaluation. And I believe that the FEC also reviews for units that require outside or external letters of support for tenure and promotion cases. It's my understanding that the FEC also reads those letters and takes them into account, although now that I'm saying this, I'm doubting. So if anybody knows the answer to that question, I'd love to know it. Does the FEC read those outside letters? Or do they only apply unit standards? Liz Putnam says yes. All right. Cool. So again, like that bit about outside letters is specific to specific departments. Again, I think unit standards is really the best resource for FECs in terms of their composition and how they're supposed to work. As you know, many departments have like sub-FEC committees or sort of different configurations around who reviews who. So does anybody have any questions on the FEC? All right, so here's the timeline for the FEC. You all have a short month to do your reviews, have your discussions, and write up the recommendations. As you all know, the CBA also allows for faculty members to appeal the FEC's recommendation, and the process for that is described in the CBA, and we have taken that into account when designing the process on Submittable, and Tom will talk about that in a little while. Great. I'm just trying to monitor the chat as we go along. All right, and then as you all know, on November 15th, all of this moves up a notch to the department chair level. So the department chair's role is a little bit different than the FEC's in that the department chair not only applies the unit standards to the IPR and the evaluation record that they receive, they also apply the university standards that are in the CBA, and they consider all of the other recommendations that are a part of the evaluation record when they're making their evaluation. Another thing that's different in the department chair's role is that they do make ranked recommendations to the dean on the merit awards that are either being requested by faculty members or recommended by the FEC. Same sort of thing, department chair's role is described in the CBAs. Faculty can appeal the department chair's recommendation, and there's a process for that in the CBA, and we've taken it into account when designing the process on Submittable. And then I'm going to try to not spend too much time on this. Then it goes to the dean. The dean has 2 months to review these things. They also apply everything, including unit standards, university standards, and everything that's in the IPR and in the evaluation record. And then the dean ships that all to the provost. The provost office processes and enables the provost to review of everything, and then delivers the provost's recommendations by August 25th. After the provost delivers, this is something that I guess not everybody knows, and it doesn't really matter, but it does, because I think it's important for you all to know that after the provost delivers the decisions, like, we transmit all of that to HR, and then the items that need to go to the Board of Regents for approval are handled by HR. And then again, other people have roles in faculty evaluation. So the staff in the academic units actually have a super important role in the faculty evaluation process. They always have, and they do now as we've moved paperless to Submittable as well. And Tom and I work really closely with all of them, and we really rely on them to be the sort of on-the-ground resources for faculty members, FEC members, department chairs, and then folks in the dean's office for the deans. So we work really closely with them. We have office hours with them every single week, and they are sort of like the most important links in the chain for all of this to work. So does anybody have questions? Great. I feel like I didn't teach you anything you didn't know, and it's time for Tom to to get to the juicy stuff.
There we go. Okay. So this is actually a pretty straightforward process on a technical standpoint. Procedurally, what the CBA lines out can be a little bit jargony, but thankfully, like, it's pretty much step by step by step. So go over a few things in this process. I'm going to cover logging into Submittable. I'll talk about the messages that you get from Submittable when you are assigned IPRs by your faculty evaluation manager. I'll show you how to access those materials once they've been assigned to you. And then I will talk about the handoff of the recommendation to the FE manager so that they can upload it, attach it to the IPR, and communicate it to the faculty member. And then I will also be opening it up for questions. So logging into Submittable is fairly straightforward. It does have one or two kind of tricky things if you don't know about them. So that's why I like having a chance to show this off. Everyone at who has a net ID has a Submittable account thanks to our contract with Submittable. It's campus wide. So this is the what you'd see if you were submitting, but no matter how you're getting to it, you're going to click this have an account sign in button, which will lead you here. This when you are at this screen, you don't actually enter a password. What you do is you want to click the use single sign-on button, and that will take you to the regular Montana or the regular NetID login page that you'd use to log into any other system on campus, pretty much. Library resources, for example, or things like that. The other way you can do that is if you enter your UMontana email in the email field, it'll actually just get rid of the password field entirely, and then clicking either use single sign-on or sign-in will take you to that logon page. Then you just log in with your NetID, just like you would anywhere else. It's important you do use your UMontana or that single sign-on because otherwise email communication to you might not get to you, and or you may not actually be able to see the submissions that are assigned to you. A few people on campus have been using Submittable since before we rolled out the Submittable system campus-wide and integrated the single sign-on. So if you're one of those people, so if you've been using Submittable prior to fall of 2020, and you have a Submittable account connected to your MSO email address, please get in touch with me. It might be the case that you need to have those accounts merged, and I will work with our Submittable partners to merge those accounts. But that being said, let's take a look at the messages that you'll get, or message, really, there's only one kind in this case, that you'll get from Submittable when you get assigned materials. It'll look something like this. It'll come from, in this case, notifications at email.submittable.com. And it'll say new submission assignment from Office of the Provost. The text is pretty straightforward. It's a by account setting, so we can't customize it much more than we've got there, but it tells you, you've got a new one or more assignment, and then tells you, which IPRs you've been assigned. One thing we highly recommend is setting up a rule for Outlook so that those messages don't end up in either junk, or if you have focus inbox turned on, the other tab. To do that, you just go into the file menu in Outlook and then click on manage rules and alerts. And then that'll bring you to this screen. Click new rule. And then when this comes up, you just want to make sure that it says move messages from someone to a folder. And then you just hit next. And you want to deselect from people or a public group, which is what it will normally have selected, and make sure that it's with a specific, or with specific words in the subject's address, or sender's address, sorry, is selected. And then click on specific words in step 2 and just put in at email.submittable.com. Click Add, click OK, click Specified, and then you can select your inbox, or if you want to direct them all to like a specific folder, like if you want to create a submittable folder, go ahead and do that by clicking New. Otherwise, just hit OK and hit Finish. So going back to the email that you get, you'll see that it says View Submissions. That's the easiest way to get to the submissions that you're assigned to access those files. You can also click on the name of each individual assignment if you want to go that route. Either way, once you do that, you'll end up here, basically. This is the submittable submissions page or submissions list. You can also get here by visiting umtprovost.submittable.com/submissions. That'll also take you to that login page, but once you've logged in, it should land you here. And it'll show all of the, show all of the submissions that you're assigned to. To access a submission, all you have to do is click on the name of the submission, which in this case is the last name of the faculty member. And once you're in there, you'll see something that looks like this. This is the sort of basic demographic information that the faculty member submitted when they were submitting their IPR form. Things like name, 790, college, unit, etc. So you just scroll down, and here's where the IPR documents themselves are attached by the faculty member. There's two ways of reviewing them. You can either review them in your browser, and you can do that by either clicking on the file name or by clicking that little sort of right turn arrow next to it, or you can download the files to your computer. If you do download files to review them, do please make sure that you delete them after you're done, just to safeguard your colleagues' privacy. The next thing that you'll be looking at, duplicate slide, is the internal form information. So if you're a member of an FEC, you'll be looking at the SEC materials that were uploaded. If you're a chair, you'll be looking at SEC materials and FEC materials, so on and so forth. So again, you'll just scroll out a little bit further down to the bottom of the page, and this internal form says faculty evaluation IPR submission again. You just click that little down arrow, and that brings up this space here. And you'll see in this case, my IP, this is my IPR. The SEC review has been attached already. Just like with IPR documents, you can either click on the file name or that weird right turn arrow, or again, the download icon, the downward facing arrow, to access those files either in your browser or by downloading them to your computer. Similarly, if there are outside layers of support, they can be attached here. Materials solicited by the FEC or unsolicited materials received by the FEC can be attached here, so on and so forth. So that's where all of those go. You'll review all of the documents, but there is no point at which you will be entering your review into Submittable directly. Once you finish reviewing the IPR materials, if you're part of an FEC, if you're an FEC member, you'll get together and you'll do that the way that your department always has in terms of crafting those. If you're a chair, again, you'll craft your recommendations the way you always have in your department. and then you'll need to work with your faculty evaluation manager to determine the best method for getting those materials from you to them so that they can upload it. They will also, if they haven't already, they should reach out to you soon to get an email or a memo or something saying that you approve them uploading materials on your behalf. They'll upload that into a separate file that we keep. That's the level 4 confidentiality agreement. We have one of those for all of the FE managers. But once you've provided them with the recommendations, they'll go into Submittable, change the stage to the entry stage, and they'll go ahead and enter it and get the material sent over to the faculty member for them to review. And they'll also send them a form that lets them acknowledge that they've received the material and indicate whether or not they plan to appeal them in the case of the FEC chair dean stages, or in case of the SEC, they can say, yes, I've received it, and indicate whether or not they're planning to append a written response. That's really it. Like I said, it is very much a straightforward process. And as Clayton said, the faculty evaluation managers really have been rock stars in helping us with this, and they will be the ones that will help you. If you've got questions, you can reach out to them. If they've got questions, they can then reach out to us. So, and of course, you're always welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll loop them into that. So let me open it up for questions here. And if anyone's got questions, please let me know. Let's see, I think.
I have a question if I could.
Yes.
Hi. So Clint, well, you can see. So I have two actually. One is maybe naive, but I'm going to ask anyway, just to be sure. The SEC reports, how and when are they attached to the IPR files?
The SEC or FEC? Sorry.
The SEC, sorry.
Yeah.
The SEC. The write-ups of the courses.
Right. The SEC reports are attached to the IPR, again, by the faculty evaluation manager.
Okay.
And
sorry, would that include the most present, the most current ones and older ones for larger applications, like for merit and promotion? Or I'm just wondering how, like, I know some years we needed to attach with I think I'm remembering this right. We had to attach all of the old SEC reports, and they were paper copies, and sometimes we wouldn't have them, and we would have to contact people to get those older SEC reports to be sure they were all attached.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, I'm still used to the very old paper application process.
Sure.
I haven't been reviewed for a while, and but I'm the FEC chair because someone had to step up, and I know the process well, and I feel fine with, you know, everything except, you know, the submittable system. I have questions. So anyway, sorry, I'm just
yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Claudine, you can answer that.
I'll jump in. I mean, and thank you, Professor Walker. And that's certainly not a bad question to ask, because this is it's going to be a tiered sort of rollout, right? Because not everybody's evaluated every year. And so we're well aware that we're going to be presenting this submittable stuff to people who have never seen it before for at least one more year, but probably more. And we really appreciate your patience and understanding, because we're also learning it, you know, and we've had the challenge of sort of designing something that will work for every unit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate and we want to preserve the fact that every unit does things their way. We think that that's super important. We certainly don't want to impose a single way on everybody, but it's made it a little bit challenging in the sense that we've had to build in like some structure and some flexibility at the same time. And we fully appreciate your question. Um, so yeah, my understanding is that the Student Evaluation Committee reviews the course evaluation and gathers any additional evidence that they wish to gather for the course evaluations that this faculty member has chosen, right, for this evaluation cycle. And so that the SEC's report or evaluation of those items, which they would have conducted just in the past month, just now, if they're following the deadlines in the CBA, which we know sometimes doesn't happen, and there is flexibility built in there as well. But if they're finishing that, if they're following the deadline, if they're following the timeline in the CBA, then that means that they should have already delivered their reports to the FE manager, who in turn has received instructions from Tom and I to upload those to the IPR submission form once the faculty member has submitted it. There was a bit of a timing issue that we will work on fixing for the next time around, but essentially, like, even if the SEC had finished their work and delivered their reports ahead of time, the FE managers couldn't upload them to the IPR submission form until after the faculty member had submitted their IPR, right? So, and that's all happening sort of like now, or happened in the past couple of days.
Sure.
I know that in your college in particular, there are individuals serving as faculty evaluation managers for multiple academic units. And I know that that's a real challenge for everybody. And so, do you know, if you know who your faculty evaluation manager is, I would suggest that you just reach out to them and check in with them and talk through it with them. If you don't know who it is, feel free to contact me or Tom, and we'll be able to give you that person's name. But so the SEC evaluations for just this current cycle should be already uploaded to each faculty member's IPR submission form, or they will be soon. And that's something I suggest you just talk to your person about.
And older years?
Yeah. So older years is, this is something that I had never paid attention to before. And indeed, the CBA says that before the transmittal of the evaluation record to the dean, so we're talking the dean stage, which starts December 15th, that is when copies of the SEC, FEC chair, dean, and provost recommendations from all evaluations during the performance period must be included in the IPR at that stage.
Oh, okay.
This is something that kind of took us all by surprise last year, and we sort of got a message out to people in early December saying, oh my gosh, if you need to find these things, like, go talk to HR. And HR was great. You know, they identified a point person who took faculty requests and coordinated gathering all of that information. This year, I think we tried to draw people's attention to that sooner, so that it's on people's radar sooner, so that folks who are going to need to provide that are hopefully already on top of it and starting to gather it, so that it's not this sort of crazy rush right before the semester ends and before the holidays and stuff to get this information from HR.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to clarify that those files too will be connected to the IPR, but at that point that Claudine identified.
Okay. May I ask one last question?
Please.
Can I ask a follow-up question on just this one issue before we move on to another one?
Sure, please. Yeah.
Thank you for raising these issues, Clint. And I hadn't clued into the all prior years reviews. And you guys are talking about like what used to be on the colored pages, right? Not the letter that says you are now got merit or something. Is that right? We're supposed to attach the actual reviews.
So my understanding is that it's both and. So I mean, the evaluations or recommendations that used to be on the colored paper, you know, the different colors represented the different reviewers. But this does include the provost's recommendations, and so that would be the letter from the provost.
Just to follow up on that, who is the one who puts that in the process? Does a faculty member collect them and give them to the FE manager, or should the faculty member be uploading them now with the IPR?
Either or,
No.
like if you've already
Okay.
got that stuff, if you kept track of all of your copies and you have that in your possession, it wouldn't be a bad idea to scan it and upload it now as a part of your IPR. If you've already submitted your IPR, you will have to work with your FE manager, and they'll have to work with Tom to, or your FE manager should know how to reopen the submission so that you can change out the documents. It's pretty easy. If you don't have those documents in your possession and you're going to have to set up an appointment with HR to go look through your file and take the things that you need, then I would recommend reaching out to them, you know, as you have time to do that, knowing that these are supposed to be added to the evaluation record when they're going from the department chair to the dean.
So
And-
sorry, go ahead.
If you were to do that, if you go to HR and you get the stuff that you need and you scan it, then you can share that file with your FE manager. And then, Tom, can they add it, or is it again a question of reopening the submission for the faculty member to upload it?
At this point, it would be a matter of reopening the submission. I think, however, it might be worthwhile to add an
internal field.
Add an internal field,
Yeah.
correct? I think that'd be easier for everyone, and that we can do at this point. So,
Okay.
And is it the FEC chair's responsibility to get this information out to all the faculty under review? This is totally new to me. I hadn't, or I mean, it's not totally new. I know it's been there, but we haven't paid attention to it in my unit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it didn't get on my radar until one year someone called me and asked me if I had all this stuff, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I was like, "Oh my God, there it is. The CBA. It says something different every time you look at it. It's so crazy."
So I don't think our faculty know about this. I was just looking at some of the submissions, and they don't have this information.
So you know, it's crazy, right? Because technically this is every faculty member's contract, and technically every faculty member should read it. But I totally understand that that's kind of difficult because it's a really unique document, and most people don't take the time, and that's totally understandable. So if you'd like to make your colleagues aware of this, that would probably be really kind. Okay, Anissa says that she just sent a reminder
that's
to her
okay.
faculty. Yeah, you know, doing this on Submittable has really brought a couple of details like this to light. And I wouldn't be surprised if more than one college or department actually just overlooked that. And it's, yeah.
And most of us are looking at our unit standards when we're putting together our IPRs, right? So it makes sense that good
Right.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Clint, to interrupt.
That was good. Mine is kind of going to follow up a little bit of, it also has to do with the question of what's the best way to handle the situation if an IPR needs to have files added to it? There are files missing, and because it seems like everything is numerically arranged, and so like, does that mean that the submitter will have to renumber everything if something needs to be attached in the middle? Or is, like, I'm just wondering what's the best strategy to handle if something needs to, because this will definitely come up, I'm positive.
And already has
instances. Yeah. So I'm just looking for suggestions, recommendations, what's possible.
Ultimately, the naming scheme that we propose is I I've termed it a strong recommendation earlier in a chat to one of the faculty evaluation manager. It is not contractually obligated that everything be named that way. It's really to try and make sure that if something is missing,
Mhm,
it's easy to tell
mhm,
and it's easy to figure out what order things go in.
mhm.
So if something needs to be added, one, the faculty member will need to again reach out to the faculty evaluation manager to open the submission for editing so that they can add a file. In terms of the naming scheme, it can be as simple as just adding, if it's going to be in the middle, call it document 1A of
Mhm, okay.
however many,
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, okay.
It's really just so that, people who are reviewing these documents can figure out if they've got everything and what order they should be looking at it in.
Okay. That makes me feel much better because I was a little concerned, but now I understand better.
Yeah,
I'm
and
new
in
with
fact,
it. I'm new to this type of. I'm not very computer literate in general, so I'm just trying to do my best job to adapt as we go along. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, and so Kat is proposing something down here too. You guys work with your colleagues to come up with a naming convention that suits you the best.
Hmm.
The critical thing being that everybody use it because it's a convention, right?
Yeah.
And so I think someone else that's on this call contacted us a couple weeks ago to say, I don't like your naming convention. Can I make my own? And we were like, yeah, go for it. Like, as long as everybody understands it and understands the rationale for it, you guys do your thing. And, and then explain it to your department chair to get them on board. And make sure that, when it goes to the dean's office, make sure your FE manager communicates to their FE manager of what's going on. But, yeah.
Carrie says, can someone point to the section where the CBA
Yeah.
calls for prior
So-
reviews?
It's section 10.220. That's the one on the IPR. And it's got like a long paragraph, and then there's some bulleted numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then right after the bullet 6 on normal and less than normal is where it says copies of the SEC, da da da. So it's that first sentence of that, I guess, second paragraph.
Claudine, you might have already gotten this question, but if a faculty member makes a mistake on the demographic information and needs to make a change, especially what they're requesting, what they're requesting in terms of their review, do we handle that internally, the FE manager, or do they have to come to you?
The FE manager can handle that as long as they know how to open it for editing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a matter of in some cases, we're a lot of the FE managers haven't done this before. So if they have questions, I can certainly help walk them through it. I've done it.
So they open it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let me
Okay.
share my screen. I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah, and actually, Tom and I were just talking about how we should just make a blurb of instructions for all the FE managers on how to do that, because we've been getting this request a lot, which is natural. I mean, now is the time, right? So, not a big deal.
So this is that submission that I was demoing in my slides. It's this test form, but this is what I see. What I showed in the slides was what you would see as a level 1. As a level 5, I have this purple pink magenta, whatever color that is, open editing box. When a faculty member needs to make a correction, add something, whatever, the FE manager just has to go in, open or click that button, and then they'll just write a quick message. Hey, this is, in relation to the conversation we had earlier, and then they'll just hit open for editing. What that does, in fact, let me just open this for myself. And then I'll switch over to what it looks like for the faculty member as the submitter. So they'll be able, then it says editable. So they can go in and edit the form. And say, for example, my request, I had said, oh, I want a normal increment. But what I actually should have said was, oh, no, I'm going for tenure or whatever. Or, oh, I want a merit award. And I didn't mean to select normal. So I just click that. And then, or if I needed to add files to my IPR, I could choose more files here. And then I just hit submit. So now if I go back in to that same submission, you can now see that the requested action is merit award. So it's, like I say, it's a very simple process, but it just requires the faculty evaluation manager to make that change, so that they can, open for editing.
I would just add, like, so what Tom just demonstrated shows that a faculty member, like, once they hit submit, they can't go back and change anything on their submission unless they get assistance from the FE manager. And that sort of goes along with the notion that's in the CBA that a faculty member shouldn't be able to change their IPR unless they are asked to after a certain point in time. So maybe one thing that we should make clear to the FE managers is that they shouldn't be reopening submissions unless they have the agreement of the FEC chair to do that, just to make sure there's no misunderstandings whereby the FE manager would think, oh yeah, sure, I can open that submission back up for you, like, and then end up finding out that they shouldn't have done that or something like that. I'm
Right.
always thinking about, like, them, since a lot of them don't know or are new or whatever, like, I guess, Tom, it would be good for us to just remind them that they should make sure that they've got the FEC chair's agreement to reopen submissions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so then, Clint, that maybe that demonstrated, like, if your FEC decides to tell one of your colleagues, hey, you need to add this or that to your IPR, then that's how they would do it. They would go to the FE manager and say, the FEC asked me to add some supplementary information. I need you to open my thing up, and then they'll use the naming convention that you agreed on, and then upload their documents that way.
The platform and the way this is handled and making the changes, it's very similar to the Fulbright admission process. So they're probably using a similar platform. So
That's
now I feel
awesome.
much better.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Same system.
Claudine, I have a different kind of question. You or Tom can clarify. On Submittable, when a faculty member is applying for merit, in the past, there was, like, outstanding on teaching or outstanding on reason. Is that still on Submittable? Because I didn't, okay, so I must be missing something where, because unless they indicate in their memo within our process, I wasn't sure how to know what they're going up for.
So you should know what they're going up for based on what they write in their IPR, right?
Yes, and that might be just a particular faculty member who forgot that part. So I'll have to follow up. But I guess what I'm wondering is if it's also unsubmittable. Like it. So when Tom was doing that, like accidental merit, I didn't see it pop up saying what are an additional level saying I'm going for.
That's interesting. So no, we did not, like on the IPR submission form that the faculty member fills out, we did not include like if they check, there's a lot of form logic in that form. So if they check this, then this other thing appears. But I don't believe that we incorporated any form logic around why they were requesting a merit award. And that's an interesting point.
So I guess that's good for me to know, because now I'm noticing in their memo, they didn't also indicate where they're going, like what they're going for merit. And I just assumed it was maybe because it was unsubmittable. So now I know it's not. I can loop back and just clarify.
Yeah, it's not because like, I guess in most of the IPRs I've seen, people say they write it out and then they provide the supporting documentation. But I will say that in the review, like, okay, so when the FE manager goes to input the FEC chair's recommendation into the system, there they will have the ability to indicate that the FEC is recommending a merit award based on outstanding, above normal, or normal in the 3 areas, like it used to be before.
I can show you that really quick. Let me.
Yeah.
So this is what the FE manager will be submitting on your behalf. It asks, are they tenure and tenure tracking? If they click the merit, the option for merit, it does ask, what is the rationale? Is it outstanding? Is it above normal? So it's, this is, but as Clayton said, when we're building the form that the faculty member submits, there wasn't a place in the old multicolored sheets where the faculty member explicitly called out their justification. It was in the IPR, in the letter that they submitted as part of their IPR, and then only when it got to the FEC, et cetera, stages was there an explicit checkbox that said, yes, this is above normal. Yes, this is outstanding.
Thank you. I think it's just a faculty error then at this point. So I'll follow up. Thanks.
Yeah, we based the submittable stuff off of the paper forms.
I don't know that the faculty have to say which area they think rate themselves on those. Like, there's no instructions that say they have to do that. Is that right? Or am I missing?
I think that's
it's like
right,
a good
Carrie.
thing to do.
Yeah.
I think, Anissa, your unit mate, that just might be a particularity of the way that psychology does it.
I think you're right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like where that's written. I don't think that's written anywhere. It's just like
just a good idea.
Yeah.
It's an institutional history thing that I'm taken over for the last few years.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Who should a faculty member contact at HR if they need to get all of their previous SEC, FEC, chair, provost letters?
I don't know. Let me call Ann Jadida and ask her who she wants it to be. And she may well identify the same person who did it last year, who seemed to have some sort of a system to log the requests they receive, et cetera. So I will, I'll find out and I'll get that back out to you guys.
Okay. Is that the most direct way for a faculty member to get all of those?
Yeah. Okay, so yes and no. For the record, I'm going to say yes, because according to the CBA, the official personnel file is in HR and nowhere else.
Mhm.
We all know that the departments and the dean's offices keep copies of all this stuff. And so a person could go and talk to their admin, or, go through those files and see if they could reconstitute that dossier that they need.
Mhm.
And I believe that's why the departments kept these copies for so many years. But according to the CBA, the official record resides within HR. And so that is why I've felt more comfortable directing people there. In addition to the fact that, as we know, and particularly in HNS, there has been a lot of changes in terms of the support to departments and the sort of institutional knowledge, memory, continuity there. And so it seemed perhaps more reliable to go to HR. Like, in the past, the packets of the different colored sheets and recommendations that would come all the way up to the provost's office,
Mhm.
I know that we sent those to HR. That's what we do with them. So, and now with Submittable, we have they actually get archived in the Submittable system. And we have instructions for folks on how to get those out of Submittable. So anybody that submitted an IPR last year and that needs to get the documentation out of Submittable, we've got instructions on the website about how to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, and some colleges decided to recycle all that paper. That's okay. I mean, it should be in HR, and hopefully, well, I know not everybody keeps that stuff, but
Yeah. If the
Good idea.
faculty member themselves just keeps the file, can they just scan it and upload
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're welcome
yeah.
to.
If you kept your stuff, which is advisable,
Smart. Especially course evaluations.
But
Those
you-
only exist, course evaluation reports only exist in the department office or in the faculty members' files, for example. I mean, until they switched over to online, but that only started in fall 2020. So
You're taking away the fun of having a ceremonial burning. Sorry.
if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We know this is a big change. There's some things about Submittable that are great and easy. There's other things about Submittable that are clunky, and we wish they could be otherwise, and they just can't be. For a long time, I was like, oh, I wish we just had gazillions of dollars, because then we could buy a super system for faculty evaluations, and it would be so easy. But I've come to the conclusion that that's not the case. Our process is really convoluted. It's also a great process, right? With all of the possibility to appeal every step of the way and have that sort of conversation. The truth is, our process is convoluted. I don't think there's any paperless platform that could match it entirely perfectly. So we're just doing the best we can with the resources that we have available to us. And thanks. And please reach out to us if it's difficult. Don't hesitate. We really want this to succeed as much as you do. So don't hesitate.
Thank you, Claudine and Thomas, for working on the system. It must be just as harder on your end than it is on our end. So.
I don't know.
I've gotten used to it at this point.
I don't know. We're working on it though.
Thank
Thanks,
you. This is
everyone.
very helpful.
Thank you all for coming.
Right.